Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss about the data and data management concept in any information system. Any information system has the database as the backbone. The information system becomes useless without the presence of the database or the management of data in a very appropriate way. The data which is stored is actually forms the basis of the information system. If you are not going to get any information, that means the data is not actually well organized. So organizing and managing the data in a very good form is one of the essential aspects of having a good information system. So now first let us try to understand. This actually has the first two books, or the books which are available in the university library and which has been referred to prepare this particular slide. And Dr. Murtaza has prepared the slide with some minor modifications made by me. Okay, but the video lesson is made by me now. Okay, as you know that. Okay, now for additional reading, you can see that we have to actually have these things, like these are the books which you can further refer to improve your knowledge of using the understanding about the data and the data management aspects in actually in the information system. Now let us try to go step by step on each aspect of, or the basic terminologies and the basic ideas which you should know pertaining to data and data management. First, let us see what is data. Data is actually nothing but it's a collection of raw facts. We know this fact for a long time. We all know that what is data? Data means a collection of raw bits of facts. It can be what? A number. It can be a number. It can be a name, or it can be something which has no meaning. Look at this one, 85, 90, 75, 80. When I look at it, I don't attach any meaning to it. I know these are some numbers, but this number could be the name of, could be the weight of somebody. It could be the height of somebody. It could be the mark of some people. It could be the cost of something. We do not know what is it exactly about. So something like this, where you have a collection of data. Data means bits of information which you have, facts you have, but you don't attach any meaning to it. It is not useful to you as such. So that is actually called data. What is information? A processed data is called information. What is information? A processed data is called information. When a data is changed into meaningful context, like for example, when data is processed, a processed data, you can see the word which I am underlining now, okay, or making it bold. A processed data is called information. That means the data is changed into meaningful context. When it becomes a meaningful context one, we can call it as what? We can call that the data is becoming information. We have numbers 85, 90, 75, 80, which is there, and we are also having now, like for example, this is the mark of Ahmad in English, Arabic, Math and IT. Then it becomes meaningful, that these are the marks of different students who are in the class. So now you can see that English, Arabic, Math and IT are these are the marks of Ahmad in 4 different courses. Okay, if you want to use any information system, as I told you, software program here means information system. If you want to make any information system useful for you, there is only one way. The only one way to make the information system useful is that you should have a good data which will make it really functional and good in all reasons. Some of the examples of the information systems you know very well: accounting system, payroll system and attendance system. All the systems require data in order to function effectively. So this is what you have to understand very clearly about the data and information. Now let us go for the next one. The next concept or the topic that we are going to talk is about database. So what is database? That's what we are going to talk about it now. You can see here in the database. Now I am just going to discuss with you what is database. Now okay, now this is what I actually want to explain about database. Now you can see here, a database is what? An organized collection of related information. If you are going to organize information, organize an information which are related. then it becomes what? Database. Okay, it is an organized collection. Because why it is called organized collection? It is called organized collection because why? All the data is described and associated with other data. That means what? If you have some data stored in a database, what is database? It is an organized collection of data which are related to one another. So if you are going to say the organized collection means what? All the data that you are going to that you are going to have in the database are described very correctly, and also they are associated with other data. Okay, so that's what is the idea. For example, let us take an example of student. We have a student entity in the university system. When we have the concept of having a student in the university system, you have to understand that the student entity actually has many dimensions like personal details, the fee details, the course details, advisor details, many details. So all these details are stored as a collection of information in one particular database, which is called student database. So this is what is very important. No, you should not actually have unrelated data stored in a particular database. You should not have some information about student and some information pertaining to the employee in one database. It is not a correct practice. You should have a separate database for student and you should have a separate database for employee. So now I have told you that database is what? Organized collection of data stored and accessed electronically. This is very important word. Okay, you have a computer system like DUSIS. There you don't have the data in the SIS. You have the data stored in a database in Oracle. So all the information, all the data is stored in Oracle. From the data which is stored in Oracle database, what you do? You are able to retrieve access. Access means what? Which is stored, you can access it whenever you want. You want to know details about your schedule. You want to know about your CGPA. You want to know about your attendance. Everything you can get electronically because the data is already stored in the database, and whenever you want, the information system will be able to access the data from the database to give you the information. I hope up to this point it is clear for you all. Now let's go to the next one. The next one is called database management system. I told what is database. Database means a collection of data which are related in one place. But if I want to actually have a database, there should be a set of rules. If I want to have an university, the university means what? It is a group of people working together to achieve the learning for students. This is the general idea of university, same like database. But if I want to make the university work well, I should have a system. What is a system? Like the student should come to the class, the teacher should come and teach in the class, and then they should take the attendance. There should be some exams, and based on the exams, the grades are given, and based on the exams, the students are decided whether what type of grade they get, they pass or fail, they graduate or not graduate. This is called a system. What is a system? A very well defined rules that is already there and which makes it easy for people to manage anything that is there. Like for example, university is actually something which is there, but in order to manage the university, there should be a system in the university which is academic system. The academic system is important to make the university function properly. Otherwise, everybody will work in their own way and there is no uniformity, and we cannot actually see what actually happens with the student very clearly. So that's why we have a university academic system. Similarly, what is database management system? It is also called as DBMS. DBMS means what? Database management system. DBMS is called database management system. It is a software that interacts with the end users. Okay, it interacts with the end users and applications and the database itself. That means this is going to interact with whom? The users who are going to use it, the application, the programs like DUSIS for example, and the database, nothing but where the data is stored, and analyze the data. So it is going to manage the system, it is going to manage the data which is needed for the information system by a defined structure and by a defined rules. We need a system. If there is no system in any aspect of anything, it is going to go in a different way and it is going to be very difficult. So that is one thing that you have to keep in your mind. The next thing is what? We have something called MS Access. What are the examples? Some of you may have studied CMPS 100B if you have come from the old study plan. But those who have come in the new study plan may not have studied MS Access, which is in CMPS 100B. MS Access is an example of a database management system. Database management system is a program. Another these are the other common things which we are having in the market where the people use for creating many database, like Oracle is one example, SQL Server is another example, MySQL is another example, IBM DB2. Many examples are there. So it has rules to define, create, maintain and control access to the database. So we have a group of data stored in one place. So what actually the database system is going to do? It is going to enable the users. As a user, I can do what? I can define, I can create, I can maintain and control access to the database. I actually can make my database the place where I store the data, which can be defined. I can define what data I need. I can create the data which I need. I can maintain, modify it if I want, and I also can give control access. I can make some people to access and some people may not be able to access. So I hope it's clear until now. Let's go for this one to make it very clear for you to understand what is database management system. See, this is a centralized database in any organization. In any organization, there are many departments, and all the departments have a requirement of their own data. They have a requirement of their own data. So they have all the data stored in one place, like central database. Let us take therefore university. We have to store information about students. We have to store information about teachers. We have to store information about the inventory. Inventory means the stock, the furniture, what are the facilities, what are the assets the university is having. So many departments are there and all their information are not same. They need different information and all these informations are stored in the central database. And database management system is where you are going to define which data is needed for each department, and you create the data so that it will help you to retrieve those information which you need from the centralized database to your system. Like for example, if somebody is working as a payroll officer, they want to access the staff details to understand and generate the paycheck for every month. So this is actually an example of how the DBMS. So the data that is needed by the payroll staff is different, whereas the customer service advisor needs customer details and the sales manager needs access to stock levels. So the different data are stored in different databases, but it's all stored in one place. But the database management system defines what type of data this person wants to retrieve. They can retrieve those data from the centralized database using DBMS. Like for example, the payroll data, the staff data database, from the staff database, the payroll officer using the database management system can create, if a new employee joins, he or she can create the information about that employee. He can view or she can view the information about the employee salary. He can delete if he wants to. If the employee leaves the company, he can also give control to access of the data to the managers who want to see the data every month. So these are some examples that you have to understand how a DBMS is actually related to database and how the DBMS helps the users. Users interact not with the database, they interact with the DBMS, and the DBMS interacts with the database. That's what you have to understand. Now there is one more thing that you have to understand, which is actually called database models. There are some things which is called database model. In any context you have to understand there is something called database model. Actually the database management system works on certain principles. This is called model. You know what is a model? Model means what is a model adapted by your organization. We have a vertical hierarchy. They say in organization we have a vertical hierarchy, we have a horizontal hierarchy. Hierarchy means what? How the people are organized in the or in any organization, it is called hierarchy. Similarly, in the database models, we have different database model which the database management system can be used. Database management system is going to use what? Different database models. Understand it in a simple way, and based on the database model that they are going to use, they are called different types of database management system. For example, we have for example, we have actually there are three main types of models which are available. Number one is called hierarchical model, where the data is stored in hierarchy. The other one is called network model, where the data is stored in network style. And the third most common one, which is used by everybody, is called relational model, where the data is stored as relational database. So you have to understand, a database management system is going to follow any one of these three. Also, there is one more or another model also available, object oriented model, and the database is going to be called as object oriented databases, which is very common in these modern days. Okay, now I am telling you again, database management system is going to use different models, database models, and the database is going to be named based on the model which it is going to adapt. What is a model? The type of way how it is going to organize the data. Sometimes if it is going to follow the hierarchical model, it is called hierarchical database. It is going to follow the network model, it is called network database. If it is going to follow a relational model, it is going to be called as relational database. And also there is object oriented model for object oriented databases. Now I think up to this point it is clear for everybody. Now, as I told you, this is the most commonly used one. If you look at SQL, if you look at Access, these are two common things which you are going to see. Access, some of you have studied in CMPS 100B, and you will also study this course in MISS 215, Database Management System, I think so. And also in another course, you will study about Oracle, which is MISS 405. The course may vary now. I do not know about the new course. I am just giving you the idea. MISS 225 and MISS 405. With this chapter, there is a link to these two courses. So you should not think that it is only for this course. It is actually going to link to two other courses also. So try to understand the concept and the idea clearly. Number one, they are going to store the information. The model of storing the data in this one is what? It is going to use two-dimensional tables. It is going to use two-dimensional tables. Remember this one, very important. And their tables are related to one another, and there is some relationship between the tables. The tables are related to one another and they are called relationships. There is a relationship between the tables and that is called relations. Okay, it is the most commonly used form of database structure. As I told you, if you look at any organization, any information system, they are connected to the relational database management system. Okay, flat tables have rows and columns. You know, when you have a two-dimensional table, there are two dimensions. One is x-axis, the other one is y-axis. So you know that x-axis is actually row and y-axis is actually column. So there are two axes. So that's why it's a two-dimensional. The tables have row and column. That's why it has two dimensions. One dimension is for rows, the other dimension is for columns. What is a column? I will show you the picture in the next slide, then it will become more easy for you. Column represents something called fields. Remember this word. It is representing something called fields, column. Row is representing what? Records. Okay, records. So remember these two things. Row is called records in these tables. We call the columns as fields and we call the rows as records. These are some definitions that you should know. Okay, you can go, any data element you want to access can be accessed by moving downward from the branch, from the root. You can actually go from the root, you can go downward to access the data in the particular data element. So that is just for your understanding. So you should know that in relational database management system, the data is stored in the form of two-dimensional table. One is representing the row and the other one is representing the column. So columns represent fields. They are called fields and the rows represents fields, records. Now you can see it here. I have two tables. See, this is how the data is stored in a database, in a relational database model. In a relational database model, this is how the table structure looks like. The data is organized in this way in the form of two-dimensional table. Number one, you can see here, this is called what? Department number. This is one column. Department name. This is another column. We have another one. Department location. Department manager. Employee number. Employee name. Employee title. Salary. Department number. You can see all these are called as columns. These columns are called fields. Remember, these are called as fields. Now we have information about department A, we have information about department B, we have information about department C, and these are called rows, which is also called in relational database management system as records. Now you see there is something which I told you about relationship. I told you about relationship. The relationship between these two tables is done using this idea. Can you see this one? Department number. This is existing in the second table, which is employee. Also it is existing in the first table. Also it is there. So you see that department A, and here it is department A. That means employee 1 is working in department A. Employee 2 is working in department A. The relationship. I make a relationship with the department and the employee. See, the employee is in another set of data which is stored about information about each employee working in the company, and the department is another set of information. What are the departments that you have? You have three departments in your company. Now employee 1 is working in department A, and employee 2 is working in department A, employee 3 is working in department B, and employee 4 is working in department B, and employee 5 is working in department C. So I make the relationship between the tables using this type of information being shared across the table, and this is called creating relationship. How to create relationship? We will use something called primary key and foreign key concept, which I will explain to you after a while. Just now, for the time being, just know the relationship is created by using a primary key and a foreign key concept. What is a primary key? This is called a primary key. Department number. Your university ID is a primary key for most of your information. Why? There can be two students by name Ahmed, and also the father names can coincide, and also the grandfather name can coincide. Also the same Kabila name can be there for some times. But we want to differentiate between each and every entity in the system. That's why the system is generating a unique number, and that is called university ID. And the university ID cannot be same for two students. Each student have their own unique ID. So why this is done? Because this is called primary key. Primary means what? It is a key which will differentiate each of the entities. So for this table, this is the primary key. For this one, we have this employee number as the primary key. And what is this? This is a primary key in another table, but it is also linked to this table. It is also there in this table too, but it is a primary key in another table. And now this is called the foreign key for this table. The foreign key is actually the department number, and the primary key is the department number. This is a foreign key in this table, and this is the primary key. Using the primary key and the foreign key, we can make the relationship between the two tables. Okay, now I told you what is a column. A column is also called as field. I told you the technical name for this one is called attribute. The correct technical name in relational database management system, it is called attribute. What is attribute? Field. Remember it. Column is also the same. Column in a normal layman term, it's called column, but in a database model style, it is called field. But when you are going to talk about specifically on technical aspect, it is called an attribute. What is an attribute? Character. What is the attribute? For example, we know there are attributes for everybody. He is tall, it's an attribute. He is short, it's an attribute. So similarly, what are the things that is going to define a table? That's called an attribute. So now, for example, you can see here department number, department name, and department location and department manager, all these are called as attributes. The fields are called as attributes. It define location is going to tell you which location is going to work. What is the manager of this person? It is also another attribute. Okay, all people are not going to have the same manager. Department name and department number. So this is called attribute. So this information is about one person, one department, 303 IT department. It is located in the second floor and the manager is Ahmed. When I read it like this is called a record. The information which is stored about each of the departments or each of the entity in one row is called record. Such as this one. So try to understand, in a relational database management system, data is stored as tables, which is 2 dimension. Row is representing one dimension and column is representing another dimension. It is called field and record. To make it more specific, the field is also called attribute. Department number, department name, department location, department manager, all these are called attributes because these define each of the field in the table. And if I'm going to read about this particular department in this particular row, 303 IT department located in the second floor and Mr. Ahmed is the manager, I am giving the information and that is called a record. Now going to the next one, we are going to number 11. I think this I already told you. What is primary key? Uniquely identifies. See, there's a mistake here. Identifies. Okay, identifies. Okay, when I think the mistake is identifies. Identifies each record. I told you department number, employee number. These are examples. What is foreign key? It is a primary key in one table. When it is used in another table, it is called foreign key and it relates the two tables. In the slide number 9, I have explained this idea very clearly. So please try to go through again slide number 9. What is primary key and what is secondary key? I already explained. So I hope this is clear up to this point. This completes part 1 of chapter 5, which is about database and data management. Now we will talk about the second part, where we will discuss more ideas and concepts related to data management in information system. Thank you very much for listening. Let's hope to meet in the next class, inshallah.